Thank you for joining us for tonight's Planning Commission meeting. As always, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, so if you'll please rise and join me. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Can we have roll call, please?
Chair Baldino.
Here.
Vice Chair Newman.
Present.
Commissioner Kaildorf.
Here.
Commissioner McGay.
Here.
And then Commissioner Hessler is absent.
All right, thank you, Venus. Now is the time on the agenda for public communication, an opportunity for the public to address the commission on anything not already on the agenda. Seeing no one rush to the dais, we'll go ahead and close public communications. Next are written communications. Do we have any additional written communications that weren't part of our packet today?
No, none.
Okay. That brings us to our consent calendar. We have on this agenda 3 items: minutes from April 28th, February 28th, 2019, and January 24th, 2019. Anyone want to pull or make any corrections to these? Otherwise, I'll accept a motion to approve.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay. Motion passes. Continued business, none. We're here today for a new public hearing, environmental assessment number EA 1321, CUP number 2201, AUP number 2202, and a PDS number 2201 for an outdoor cinema on the top deck of a parking structure located at 1310 East Franklin Avenue in El Segundo. And before the staff report, I'll just go ahead and disclose that I did take my wife to the outdoor cinema on Mother's Day in 2021. That's it. Okay, can we have a staff report, please?
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and turn that over to our project planner, which is Maria Baldenegro. She'll give you a brief staff report presentation.
Good evening, Chairman and members of the Planning Commission. The application is for an outdoor cinema. It requires approval of 3 applications: conditional use permit, administrative use permit, and a parking demand study. The site is located at 1310 East Franklin. The site is also within the Smoky Hollow specific plan, within the Smoky Hollow East District. This is the site. It contains 5 buildings and an existing 4-story parking structure. It has 2 entry points to access the garage or the parking structure from Franklin. The proposed location of the outdoor cinema is above on the 4th floor of the parking structure, delineated in the red rectangle. And the parking structure was built in advance to accommodate the required parking for future expansions of 3 buildings. 140 Oregon Street at the corner intersection on the southeast corner of Franklin and Oregon has already started construction. We also have 2 other applications that recently were approved for entitlements for standard works. I think you may recall it was very recent, and council just approved them in April. The use came about as a temporary use permit. We did approve this operation, and at that time, when the application was filed, we did inform the applicant that they would have to submit a conditional use permit to operate long-term. So they operated for 180 days, and with that, they were able to collect data for their parking demand study. And they discovered that most of the customers would come in pairs, and so the proposed occupancy of 200 would only require 100 parking spaces. The proposed hours are going to be after work hours, after 6 p.m. This is the layout that they operated with. As you can see, it's about 10,800 square feet, and it's closer to Franklin on the northeast corner. They are currently using porta potties, a screen, and no amplified sound is proposed. They have earphones they provide for the customers. They have several screenings in the evening. They operate from 6 p.m. to 1:30, and they are proposing the same hours and same conditions. So they will continue with no amplified sound permit. The fire department did require no parking on the upper floor, so the staff will have to guide all the customers to the appropriate parking levels when they come in. So they will be dressed in a uniform, bright and visible at night so that they can guide everybody. They will also have security to ensure that alcohol is not taken to off-site or other locations of the premises. So for the operation, we did not receive any complaints for the 180 days. And when the CUP was finally submitted, we allowed them to submit another application for a temporary use permit to provide them the time to operate while we process the applications. Okay. So the project applications required are the conditional use permit to allow the operation of an outdoor cinema. That is actually in the Smoky Hollow. This is considered an assembly use, and if you look at the code, assembly use is what requires and triggers the CUP. The administrative use is to allow the sale of beer and wine for on-site consumption in conjunction to food, and that's also in the specific plan regulations. The parking demand study to allow parking spaces to be shared at the site is primarily because the other 5 buildings will eventually have to share the parking structure. Right now, because 3 buildings are under construction and expected to be completed by the end of 2026, we believe that we could allow the use since the operation is after hours, after regular normal office hours from 6 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. So this is what the layout looks like. They're in pairs. You have views of the skyline to the east and also Chevron. They buy drinks and snacks on one area, and then they go sit, and then they have their earphones. So there's relatively very minimal impacts to the existing uses or neighboring properties. This is the view at night. And so the main hours are going to be weekdays 6 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. and weekends from 2 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. And they'll have occasional screenings in the mornings on weekends from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And alcohol will be available from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. on daily. Anytime that they'll have alcohol, food and snacks will also be available. And the use will expire and not continue operating approximately the end of 2026 at the time when all the final certificates of occupants are issued to the 3 buildings. So we don't believe that there's going to be any problems with the existing tenants or other building tenants. So in summary, staff believes that the required findings can be made to approve the project, and these are some of the findings. They're also listed in great detail in the staff report and the resolution. The proposed location of the use and the conditions under which it would be operated or maintained will not be detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare, or materially injurious to properties or improvements in the vicinity. No residential uses are located within the immediate vicinity, and rooftop Cinema Club will monitor traffic. The food and snacks will be sold when alcoholic beverages are sold, and security will not allow drinks to be taken anywhere outside of the designated seating areas. Ample parking will be available after 6 p.m. on weekdays and on weekends when most businesses are closed at the site. Recommendation is the adoption of resolution number 2920, approving environmental assessment number 1321, conditional use permit number CUP 2201, and administrative use permit number 2202, and parking demand study number 2201. And that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions. We also have the applicant representative here, David Billion, and he can answer any questions too.
Thank you, Maria. Did I hear you correctly? You said that if we grant these requests, that they're going to expire in 2026 when all the offices come online?
The property owner desires to only allow the CUP to operate for that time, yes.
Okay. Any other questions for staff?
I had a quick one, and I don't know if it's just a misinterpretation where it asks for alcohol sales from 9 a.m. to 1:30 a.m. 7 days a week, as opposed to when or during the approval of alcohol sales.
So, because alcohol can be sold for more hours than people would normally drink.
But I mean, it's only going to be in conjunction with the cinema itself.
Correct. When the
Right.
cinema is operating, that's when the alcohol and the
Okay.
food and snacks will be available.
Okay. I'm wondering if that should just be changed in conjunction with the hours of operation for the cinema, rather than a grant of 9 a.m. to 1:30 a.m. 7 days a week, a blanket. I
What
think
did
it
I
should be
say?
changed.
Are you
That's all.
referring to condition of approval number 11?
I am on page 32. I don't have, let's see, I'm on page 32. That's about all I can tell you, Eduardo. Page 32, first paragraph.
Okay, that's part of the resolution, okay. Yeah, so and that's part of the resolution, but I think more importantly to your point though, condition number 11, which is on page 36, does kind of reiterate the hours of operation for the outdoor cinema.
Right,
6
I
to
have that
1:30.
too, right.
But it goes on to say further, the sale of alcoholic beverages is limited to those hours of operation of the outdoor cinema. So that way it doesn't come an issue of, hey, they're operating, this
Right.
bar, for
Should
lack of a better term.
Should that
out-
paragraph be changed as well? That's all I'm saying.
I mean, we could clarify
Just
that in the
clean it up,
final
that's
reso, yeah, just
Yeah.
to make it more consistent.
easy.
Yeah, that's not a problem. Thank you.
No further questions.
Any other questions for staff before I open the public hearing?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. So, just for my own curiosity, you said that you collected data during when it was open previously? Do we know where people come from? I'm asking just because I'm curious if this is kind of a destination type of activity.
We'll have to open public hearing if you want to ask the applicant.
Oh,
Does
okay.
staff know?
Yeah, just I guess it's that.
I don't, but I've looked at the website and seen a lot of people are booking this, so, but I don't know where they're coming from.
Okay, so
So we
okay.
we have the
You
applicant's
don't know if that was
representative.
included in kind of the data that was collected.
No, I
okay.
don't know.
Okay. And will food be cooked on site, or will food be allowed to be cooked on site, or do they rely on outside vendors or food trucks or things like that?
No food will be cooked on site, mostly will be warmed up. So they'll have salamanders, and they do have to have food. It can't just be chips and popcorn. ABC does require to have it be a substantial meal, like a hot dog.
Okay.
Chips are not enough.
Okay.
And there's, they also have to have a certain percentage of food sales in conjunction with the Type 41 license that they're going to be applying for.
Oh, okay.
ABC. So they have other regulations they have to conform to other than the city, and that is also in the resolution.
Okay. And so on the weekends, alcohol will only be sold between 9 and 2. Is that correct, or is?
It's possible that it's sold, but they have to be operating.
Okay, but when I'm looking at number 11, and when Eduardo pointed that, directed us to provision number 11, it kind of reads as if they can only sell alcohol from 9 to 2 on weekends. So I just wanted to get that clarification.
No, it goes on to say that it's during the hours of operation. So the first sentence of that condition establishes the hours of operation, 6 to 1:30, weekdays, and on weekends 2 to 1:30, and there's the occasional screenings that will occur from 9 a.m. to 2 on
Okay.
weekends. So that would allow for the sale of alcohol even between 9 and 2, or actually from 9 to 1:30 if you wanted to look at it
Okay.
in its
Okay.
entirety.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And lastly, so the intent is for it to operate on a daily basis, like a regular movie theater. So 7 days a week, someone can walk in and watch a movie up there.
Correct, and most likely they will have similar number of screenings. But if they increase and add the occasional morning hours, then it will be more screenings per day
Okay.
on weekends.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's important to note that those screenings are, those 9 a.m. screenings are only on the weekends. So as evidenced by the parking demand study, there wouldn't be a conflict because, your traditional office hours are Monday through Friday. So that's why they specifically selected, those screenings, 9 a.m. screenings on the weekends.
Okay. Thank you. That's it for me.
Chair, if I may, before you open public hearing for the commission's consideration and for the applicant during his comments, while we're talking about condition number 11, I might suggest instituting a last call in there, and the commission can deliberate on that, but I would suggest a last call either 30 minutes to an hour prior to closing, but I'll leave that up to the commission. Or that would be last call for alcohol.
Right. All right, any other questions for staff before I open the hearing? Okay, now we'll have the public hearing. As always, the first right will come to the applicant. Thank you for joining us. Just tell us your name and...
David Ballion Architects. I'm here representing the applicant. Good evening, commissioners. Just going to provide a little color. Maria did a really good job. Just for some added color, the developer of the property actually designed that top floor with assembly use in mind. Believe it or not, assembly use is a heavier use than parking garages. The idea originally was that cars were going to be no more in 10, 15, 20 years. We're going to convert the rooftop to a park or to some sort of an amenity for the campus as a whole. That's the long-term goal. And the garage was permitted right before the original Smoky Hollow specific plan was approved. So the garage went up, and it's essentially nearly completely empty most days of the week. So the entirety of the original temporary occupancy was actually 250, I think. So this application here tonight is actually 200. So it's a reduction of total occupants. So they're removing chairs, presumably based on market demand, and so it is going to be lesser of a load than it was before. Additionally, the temporary toilets facilities that Maria mentioned are now going to be actual structures. They're going through plan check currently, so they're not going to be temporary at all. They're going to be real structures. A couple more bits of info. So the health department is what governs, and the ABC license and the health department are what govern the use and sale of the alcohol and stuff. So you must have food, not just snacks, with the alcohol. And yes, the intention is it only be served during their events. The weekend events are very occasional, from what I understand. Very, very occasional. It must be some specialty event. And just to give some context, when I was there, I also saw a movie in the first month they were operating. The level below was essentially full, but the 2 levels below that were essentially empty. So just to give you context, so in the evening, especially with the 3 buildings not complete, the entirety of the parking demand fits on 1 level, and there's 2 others in addition to the rooftop. So it's a really low use. And final note is being outdoors, is really great for the community. People are still, COVID's still not over for most. And so giving an opportunity like this locally here for folks to come out with their families and enjoy it in open air and not be overly sort of consumed being in a large confined area with several hundred people. You know, some people are not going to go to a movie theater, but they would go to an event like this because of the physical environment. So very little impact, very kind of a great community. It's actually really fun. It's very retro, and we hope you'll approve it tonight. Let me know if you have any other specific questions.
Do you know the show times? I know there's like 2 shows. There's
There's
an early
two
and a late.
Yes, early and late, and I think it shifts because of the sun. So I think they have 2. It jumps an hour based on daylight and savings and how because the screen faces west.
Right.
The sun's got to go before they can screen it. I'm sorry, I don't know the exact time of both screenings, but there's 2.
I want to say we went at like 6 or 8. That's how I sold it. I'm like, you're home by 8:30. You know, it's in your backyard. You're not even leaving El Segundo. So
Right.
I was just curious how late. But I guess you could have like a midnight showing or something like that.
I don't want to misspeak. I don't know,
Sure.
but I do know that the 1:30 I think is a good 30 minutes after because they got to wait for people to exit and they got to
Yeah.
take the stuff down, close up shop, and leave.
Mm-hmm.
The actual owners were supposed to be here, but they're stuck in traffic because of all the sort of the Americas thing in downtown. I have been texting them, and they did say that in their parking demand study, their customers are from all over, a little heavy on the South Bay, but all over. So it's not, they are a destination, but it's not only locals, it's all over.
All right, thank you. Any questions?
I have a question that now I realize might actually be for staff and not the applicant, but might be for you. Is this, so can you rent out the space for other use? And I guess if you are, how does that come into play with the CUP? So if somebody is renting this space, what are they limited to? Is it the same as occupancy and all those other things we're approving?
So I don't know if the space is available for, like, if I decide to rent it out for my family and friends only. I don't know if that's possible, but what I do know is that the building permit is based on occupancy. So no matter what you do, you cannot have more than 200 occupants in the space. That's the only way I can answer that without.
So if it was like a church group and they're giving a sermon, you'd still have that same number of people. They just wouldn't be watching a movie, using it for some other purpose.
Sure. Yeah.
Got it. And the conditional use permit covers that as well then?
Well, the conditional use permit is primarily for the hours of operation and the use, and this is specifically for the cinema. If they wanted to do something outside of those hours, we would require the temporary use permit. So like for a sermon outside of these hours and not being a cinema use, a different assembly use, we would require a temporary use permit.
In working with them in the last 2 years, I have not heard of a single for rent kind of engagement. Doesn't mean that it couldn't be.
It's a little bit of a selfish question too. I'm just
Sure.
curious.
You want to rent it.
Sure. Good one, but I'm sorry, I don't know, but I have not heard of that come up.
Just to add a little context, because I think Maria was making a good point that we would want to look at it separately. There's things that may be involved in a different type of event, and although attendance might be the same, the parking demand might be the same, there's amplification that might be different. There's other impacts that we might want to look at through the TUP, and so unless it exactly complied with what this is, we'd probably look at it separately through its own independent TUP.
And just to be fair, I don't think they're seeking for anything other than movie. I think that's their branding. It's what they do. I don't think, seeing photos, online or whatever with a wedding going on with their stuff might not fit with their branding. Sure. I'm not saying that they're,
Makes sense.
Oh, any other questions for the applicant? All right, thank you. Nice to see you again. So I'll just give you a rundown on my experience. I went with my wife around Mother's Day in 2021 because she loves the movie La La Land. And my sons were happy they did not have to go and see it. And you drive up the parking structure. They've got signs as you're going, Smoky Hollow directing you there. And then when you drive up the ramp, there are employees telling you where to park. You're only allowed to park on the lower levels, and you go in the elevator and you pop up, And it's decorated just like a movie theater with a box office, and the restrooms, even though they were portables, were very nice, and there was a hand washing station. It was all very COVID safe. The chairs are comfortable, and you've got your own set of wireless headphones that are kind of sealed up, so they've been disinfected, I assume. And yeah, you can adjust the volume. It was a great experience, and we're home in 5 minutes. So what's not to beat there? I'm just sad it's going to go away in 2026, but I guess I've only been there once in a year, so maybe I need to use it more.
Maximize your time.
Yeah,
Now and then.
yeah. Should go see it again. Unless there's anyone else in chambers who wants to make public comment, I'll go ahead and close public communication, and any further comments will come from the dais. Any comments?
I love the idea. I think it is destination. I mean, you hear lots of other areas that are providing this type of a movie experience. I have a lot of friends that have gone downtown and they really enjoy that. So glad it's here. Good use of the property.
I would agree.
Yeah, I think this is fantastic as well. I think that the headphones is genius with the airplane noise, and I'm very happy that there's been no complaints during the time it has been in use. I'm happy that it's in Smoky Hollow. I think it adds to the character of the area, and I think it's a good, and that's why I was asking people to come from other places, because they get to see Smoky Hollow, and that's their view of El Segundo as kind of one of our showcase areas. And then, of course, they can take advantage of all our food options and things like that. Overall, I think this is a great forward-thinking kind of idea, and
Yep, I concur. My only comment was if we want to talk about the last call.
I think just looking at their website, the latest showing was 10:30. They've already been operating without any issues, so I don't want to put any arbitrary conditions on there. I think they've demonstrated through the temporary use permit that they're operating this without any complaints. So I don't think it's necessary. I'm happy to entertain it if you think it's important. But
yeah, as long as they're complying with ABC rules, I don't see any reason to make it stricter, since they haven't had any complaints.
yeah, and then the other issue about 11, I think because it's clarified for during operations of the cinema, I don't know if you want to do any more changes to that, Brenda, if you're
Well,
satisfied.
it's just that one paragraph. I mean, if this supersedes that,
Yeah,
I
that's
don't-
the resolution, so that's the condition,
okay,
which is basically limited by hours of operation of the cinema.
okay. This is a condition of, this is the resolution.
Yeah, I'm looking at 11.
I think
Yeah,
that's
so,
what
yeah,
I
so
wanted
the
to say.
conditions are part of the resolution, and I think what you were referring to is more of like the analysis that, the findings.
So it's just a paragraph of words?
Yeah,
Not
and like I
boring.
said, I mean, it's
Okay.
easily modified so that it reflects that
I'm
it's,
good.
This is here,
Yeah.
and that's the language that makes sense,
Yeah.
or makes more sense. It's more accurate, I would say.
Okay,
and to your point, I mean, like I said, we could just change that one sentence so that it reflects that it's only during the hours of operation, just to make it clear.
All right, well, I want to thank the applicant. This is just a great addition, a great use of space, especially a parking structure. It was wonderfully put together. It's a nice evening out in El Segundo, and if at all possible, it'd be nice to have it continue to give an extra service, but I guess we'll see what happens in 2026.
Maybe something even more fabulous planned.
Yeah, I love the idea of a park up there or something.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, so just another great project. Thank you for that, and a great amenity for Smoky Hollow, helping bring people to our city. When I went there, I didn't recognize anybody. So
I love that.
what that's worth. Not that I know everyone in town, but I didn't recognize
See
anybody.
you tomorrow.
Okay, unless there's any other comments, I'll go ahead and accept a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, can we have a second?
Well, second.
All right, all in favor? Aye?
aye.
All right, 4-0. All right, well, thank you very much. Next item is new business none, and that brings us to our report from our Director of Development Services.
I don't have anything myself. I'm going to defer to Planning Manager, who has a update for the commission.
Oh, yes, true.
momentarily.
You just missed it. I mean, we said all these nice things about you. I know you brought the shirt and everything. No, it's fine.
Are you selling the merch up there?
Okay, thank you. First and foremost, I guess congratulations to Jay and Michelle for being reappointed to the Planning Commission. They'll be here for another 4 years, right? Till their term expires in 2026. So congratulations to you two. That was officially made.
Just like the cinema. Temporary use.
So yes, and then secondly, I just wanted to alert the commission and also our viewing audience. Currently, we have a specific plan for our downtown. It is a little over 20 years old now. 20 years have passed since that was adopted back in 2000. Actually, 22 years now. And so the city is now kind of evaluating, how relevant it still is, and so we're embarking upon a comprehensive update to that specific plan. And so I just wanted to let everyone know that later on this month we will be having a community workshop, unfortunately via Zoom, but it will still be a workshop nonetheless. We're actually also seeking a lot more input. We have a questionnaire, and on this flyer that's up on our screen, our viewing audience probably right now could start scanning that QR code. It's a little more interactive type of questionnaire. There's a little maps on there that you can kind of put place finders and wayfinders and suggestions that you'd like to see to improve the downtown. And then there's an actual traditional questionnaire seeking some answers to some questions about what people would like to see, expanding uses perhaps, maybe going with a certain theme. But anyhow, the point is though, we really want this to be a robust community outreach. So this is not only being presented here and to our viewing public. Last week we started putting this out at our farmers market. So the first of every month, your development services staff is out at the farmers market answering questions for that the public may have about just anything related to development services. And even if it's not, we try to assist or point the public in the right direction. This has also gone out, the advertisement for the downtown specific plan update has also gone out through our website, not only our website, but also through our listserv, getting that word out to almost about 2,000 people today. We sent out an email with this information and the link to the questionnaire. So, next week we'll be, probably posting and publishing it in the newspaper. So, I encourage the commissioners to, also push this out to the public. The downtown is, as you all know, it's a gem in our community. We want to make sure we hear from everyone and ultimately create something that can be, more robust. And unfortunately, nothing ever happens overnight. But I've seen other cities and worked out of other cities where, they stick to that plan and in 10, 15 years, it just becomes a totally different, great place. And so, I think that can definitely happen here. We have the framework already, but, we just need to tweak that and get, more input from the community and what they want to see today and over the next 20 years. So anyhow, we have some flyers out here. Again, that this information is on our city's website. So as a commission, if you guys could push this to the constituents as well, and everyone on our viewing audience, please get involved. Please, share your thoughts with that, fill out the questionnaire, and, we look forward to that. Thank you.
So Eduardo, how is this going to work in conjunction with the RFP we put out to revitalize this City Hall Plaza? And I guess the question is, where are we with that process that was started some time ago, I think?
Yeah, so I'll take that. I think I sort of briefly talked about it maybe a meeting or two ago, that process was put on hold. In the midst of that RFP going out, the state adopted new legislation that augmented what's known or commonly referred to as the Surplus Land Act. The Surplus Land Act now requires at any time when a government agency is going to surplus property, that the first right of refusal essentially goes to a nonprofit affordable housing provider developer. So because of that, we put a pause on that because we need to determine what the appropriate path is. Because if we have to make the land available for purchase to affordable housing providers first, we need to understand what those implications are. If somebody bites at that apple and we no longer get to do what we originally wanted to do, are we stuck? Are we not? Can we unwind? Can we rewind? You know, can we reconfigure? And so that should not impact the visioning for the Civic Center from being excluded in the downtown specific plan development. In fact, it's probably most appropriate to be included in the downtown specific plan development or the redevelopment of this plan. It makes most sense to think about it holistically in relationship with the entire downtown area and the neighborhood, and really envision what the Civic Center should be, look like, feel like, and entail with residential, commercial, or whatever those uses are, incorporated in the downtown specific plan, and that could help push the development down the road once we navigate through the Surplus Land Act.
What's the timeline? So we're doing community outreach. What's kind of the ballpark timeline of when this comes to Planning Commission and then goes to the city?
Roughly, the downtown specific plan, I believe, was a 14 to 16 month process, if I remember correctly. And we started, hit the ground running earlier this January with a lot of lead time on doing background research, preliminary studies. What we'll do is we'll forward, there's a website, or on the city's website, there's a series of documents that are the background details of what's been provided so far. We're about 3 or 4 months into really the meat of the outreach, and so we're probably about 9 to 12 months out from having formal presentations of the Planning Commission. But there are opportunities for the Commission to participate, not at the dais, but we're probably 9 to 12 months out from something formally coming to the Planning Commission.
Will the parking and lieu system in downtown be discussed or considered as far as being revamped? Because I would like to see some type of numbers of how well that's worked or not worked, how much money has the city brought in, how many people have used it, because I've got anecdotal evidence from folks in town here who said, well, I couldn't do this because they want 18 grand a parking space, and would have been nice to have a rooftop deck here, but, so that, I think when you talk about holistic, there's a lot of different overriding obligations, we'll say, in downtown. So if we have a vision, that's great, but I think we need to know how to make that happen, because I don't want to date myself. I feel like we just did the downtown plan. And I can't think of one thing that changed. I know we talked about parklets and trying to make it more green on Main Street and kind of re-envisioning what Main Street would look like. But yeah, I can't think of what was in that original plan that, or even the revised plan that has come to fruition. So happy to have the process started, and hopefully we get some public input on it.
That's my question, is what does that feedback loop look like? Because I have pushed things out before that then everybody said, well, where do my comments go? So is there a consultant that is assembling all that information and digesting it and then presenting it in chunks?
Yeah, I'll go ahead, Eduardo.
It's exactly right. We've embarked the services of a consulting firm to help us out with that. I mean, this is a pretty big endeavor, and they have a plethora of experience with doing downtown specific plans in other cities. So yes, we do have RRM is the name of the firm. They're helping us out with the outreach, but also with coordinating additional studies. Like, for example, to Chair Baldino's point about parking, right now we're in the midst of starting up some of the technical analyses that will help formulate and guide decisions about what to do with parking. So I think right now we're doing we have the consultants doing parking studies in terms of quantifying how much parking is available now and versus the different types of uses and whether there'll be enough. I think sometimes there could be a conception or perception that there's never enough parking. But, that's why we need to have, solid data to help, lead those discussions. And, in terms of an in lieu fee, whether we continue that or not, I mean, at this point, it's here, but we could see what the parking demand studies say, and we can see how to address that if it needs to be addressed. And to your point about, folks, just what we're going to do is we also have kind of our own listserv. So as you go, as you go onto our website, definitely encourage people to sign up, and we try to push that information. Anytime there's any kind of community outreach program or effort, we'll push that out. And yeah, there'll be the consulting firm is going to be assembling all the comments and try and maybe categorizing them into certain topical areas, and they'll be addressed somehow in there. Obviously, if there's a general desire for a particular use or a particular use of property, say our City Hall area, which is a big courtyard, if there's a big push for people who want to see something else out there and more landscaping or what have you, then yeah, that'll get reflected in the plan. More use of that area. I mean, as it is, our specific plan right now encourages the use of that area for community gatherings. And as you can see, we do have that farmers market, and maybe we could expand upon that and have other types of things besides just a farmers market. But we'll see what the community says and how that gets implemented.
Did the consultant draft the questionnaire or create the questionnaire that is out?
They took the first stab because, they have experiences with this. But no, it was definitely with our input as well. I mean, we definitely looked at it and massaged the questionnaire before it went out. I think the unique thing about this is that it's not just a questionnaire, but there's like a preliminary exercise, so it's a little more involved, if you will, or user. You're, like I said, if maybe I'll try to find the website here and put it up. But as soon as you get on there, it has a map of the downtown, and like I said, it's interactive where you're able to, or the public is able to kind of click little icons to say, hey, I'd like to see, drop a comment on the corner of like Richmond and Grand and say, I want to see, uses X, Y, and Z here, or it's a little more interactive that way where people can just go in and put that information in there.
So I did the questionnaire, the questionnaire part.
Okay.
But the interactive part, I just didn't understand. It was lost on me, like what these different colors, I'm supposed to drag and drop them to where they're supposed to be.
Okay.
Like now that you've talked about it, it makes sense.
Okay.
But just on going to the website, clicking on it, there was a lot of information. I saw the downtown plan, but the only thing I could figure out how to do was just like ask me questions about buildings and parking.
Gotcha.
And but now that you mention it makes sense in retrospect, but having gone there, just clicking on it, I completely skipped that whole interactive part because it was over my head.
Okay, no, I'm glad you said that because I mean this is going to be out there for the next 6 weeks approximately. So if we can have a separate offline conversation, and we can see what we can do to help make that a little more user friendly.
Could be user error too. I mean, it's a computer-based system, so. All right, well, that's exciting stuff. Thank you. Anything else from the Development Services Department? No? All right, next, our City Attorney's Office. Anything to report, Joaquin?
Not today, thank you.
All right. Comments from the dais? No one's got anything to plug?
I'll say a congratulations to our graduates.
That's
Again, no
nice.
graduates. Tomorrow, high school, 5th grade. Today, 8th grade. Keep on moving. Get on out of here.
2034 will be here before you know it, right?
32.
32.
Well, last week was the Eagles
That's
Nest
funny.
also.
That's funny.
Last night was Eagles Nest?
Last week was Eagles Nest.
Oh, yeah, Kevin,
yeah.
see, he's a beat behind. I like it.
That's great. All right, that brings us to adjournment. Our next meeting is June 28th at 5:30 in Council Chambers. Thank you very much, everyone.